Hey, good morning and welcome to the Lioness Den. We are so happy that you decided to join us this weekend. Look, we have an exciting show ahead of us, but let's do what we always do. Let's grab our phones. Let's go ahead, get on our social media, and let's tag and share this live with others so that they can be enlightened and refreshed just as we are. Today, we are going to discuss mental health. That's why it's on the top of the banner. It's our mental health show. We are here with the professionals talking about our mental health this month. We will also discuss some Mother's Day stuff and talk about what's upcoming. So get your phones out. Let's like, tag, and share, and invite people to come on in and join us here at the Lioness Den. So while we're doing that, let's run our opening video and we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, and welcome back. Look, I hope you have taken the opportunity while the opening credits were running to like, share, and tag others because today's show is going to be amazing. We are here with some of our very favorites this weekend. We're here with Miss Ebony Vaughn and Miss Adrienne Holloman. And so without further ado, I want to invite them both to the stage here so that we can have this amazing conversation. Let's see. Good morning, Ebony and Adrienne. I'm so happy to see you today.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us here on the Lioness Den. I think it's been a minute since we've had a mental health talk, but it is definitely time. That's what I can say. It's definitely time for one. Before we jump into this, as usual, if you could introduce yourself, I would greatly appreciate it. I will start with Adrienne since on my screen, she's right next to me.
Hi. Good morning. I'm Adrienne Holloman, and I am a life coach. Pleased to be here with you today.
All right. And next we'll hear from Miss Ebony Vaughn.
Hello, everyone. I am Ebony Vaughn. I am a therapist, an author, and a lover of God.
I like that. I like that. You know, I was going to say, hi, I am Lydia Chapman, an author and a lover of God. But no, I am. You know, the great thing about this panel is that there are now 3 authors on this panel.
Yes.
Adrienne is also an author. You know, these experiences that we have are so major because I don't know if you guys know how much you influence me, but just the everything that I do is influenced by the great community and tribe that is around me. So thank you for being a part of that tribe.
So awesome.
So as we start, we just came out of Mother's Day weekend last weekend. And usually I would do a Mother's Day show. But last weekend was actually, to all of you who don't know, I graduated from college last weekend. And so I was unable to do a Mother's Day show, but I do want us to touch on Mother's Day due to the fact that, so many people during this time, their mental health comes in question due to either the loss of a mother, the relationship with the mother, or the fact that they're not mothers. So let's start with the loss of a mother, because the first year, I'm going to speak from my experience. The first year, you're like on it. Mom is gone. What do we do to celebrate mom? Are we going to the graveyard? Those are the type of things we start to, I know my family did. That was our first year. Mother's Day, we need to make sure we got to the graveyard. We need to make sure that we get flowers on the grave. And we did that religiously for a few years. And then I moved here. And so sometimes when the person who leads the religion is not there, you get a little less religious with something. So like we will go to the graveyard now, but we don't always do it on Mother's Day, And so that first year, what would be the advice for those who lost their mom this year? Like, this is their first Mother's Day without their mom. It was their first Mother's Day without their mom. What advice would you give them for coping? Because that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to cope. Okay.
Ebony, you want to
get what?
Well, I will start. I was thinking definitely to have Coach Adrian start first, but I can start. And this is very near and dear to me because this is my first year without my mom. And so my mom passed away June the 7th, 2024. So this is definitely the first year for me. And what I will say is to give yourself grace, to allow yourself to grieve the way that you need to grieve. And I also think that it's important for you to get away from the obligatory kind of rituals and practices, but to really be able to do what you feel is best for you in that moment or on that day, or even after those days. I did a live a couple of days ago, and one of the things that I talked about was the importance of, giving yourself grace and, being able to grow after your loss. And really being able to demonstrate gratitude, right? Because that loss is something that many of us, we don't want the loss, but it happened, right? And so part of our grieving journey has everything to do with gratitude and really being thankful for what you had when you had it, and accepting, the reality of it's no longer there. That person is no longer there physically. And so, if there's anything I could say, I would echo what I said last week in terms of it's really about allowing yourself the space to grieve and giving yourself permission to, and doing it your way and on your terms. I do agree, Lydia, that a lot of times people, when, during Mother's Day or birthdays or things like that, people, we all make rituals to go to grave sites and to honor our loved ones that way. And I think that that is very honorable and something that you should cherish if that's what you choose. But the other thing that we have to understand, depending upon our beliefs is, that's for us. But the fact of the matter is we can talk to our loved ones wherever we are, right? Those are symbolisms for what has now for our loved ones in which have transitioned, but they're not there. You know what I mean? And so I think a lot of times the perspective is, yes, this is a practice and a ritual that we do, and it makes us feel good. But the other part to that is it will make you feel good wherever you are. If you are in that place of gratitude, if you're in that place of honoring memories and participating in whatever activity feels good for you.
Absolutely. Adrian, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I was going to say, when she talked about things that you have to do, that people just expect you to do, you also have to know who you are and how it impacts you. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to feel worse because you've gone to the cemetery, don't go.
Yeah.
Right? Like she said, you can grieve wherever you are. You can speak to them wherever you are. You don't have to go to that place that's going to rip your heart out and just send you spiraling backwards.
Yeah.
So know where your limitations are. Set your boundaries. Know what works for you. Give yourself that grace.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the major things about all of us as just human beings is that a lot of times I think we put a little bit more pressure on ourselves to do things that don't add value to our lives.
Right.
Okay. And people say, why would you say add value? Because for you to beat yourself up about a situation that really you can do anywhere, as Ebony said, I can talk to my mom as, for what it is. I can talk to her anywhere. Right. The cemetery seems to be a touchable place. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what a lot of us think, not realizing that it's really not a touchable place.
It's for us.
It's for us. Yeah, you'll never touch them necessarily like that, but it makes you feel that way. Like, oh, there is a connection right here, but there's always a connection for you, no matter where you are. And so, the value added for your life is not the actual touch of being at the cemetery. The value added is that you remember and that you have not lost the mental connection, because a lot of times, well, not even a lot of times, we lose the physical connection when the person is gone. Physical connection is gone.
That's right.
So what we have, our memories, is what we try to preserve.
Yeah.
And those things, again, giving yourself grace. Thank you, ladies, because that's our theme. So I'm glad y'all started with it. I don't think you did it on purpose, but I love it. Yeah. But giving yourself grace to, understand that even though things are not exactly like I thought they would be, I have the grace to move forward. And what I'm learning and doing, think about, would they be proud of it? I think that's one of the big things. Would they feel honored by it? And am I happy? Because the am I happy kind of, in my opinion, is like the umbrella over all of it. Because if I'm happy, I think they're happy because they would be happy because I'm happy. They wouldn't want you sad and distraught.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's just my 2 cents, Ebony.
Yeah. And I think that, the bigger piece too is like when you talked about the religious piece to it. And I think that sometimes we honor symbolisms and not connection. And that's the part that we have to be very careful of. There's nothing wrong with it, absolutely not. But it's really about placing the value where the value is needed. And I think the other thing is people won't allow themselves to release tears or to actually grieve, but they'll go to a cemetery. And it's like, what, you know what I'm saying? Like, and everybody has a journey and everybody goes through what they're going through. And so this is not a dig at anything, but it's a perspective in terms of we have to give ourselves grace to grieve, and to grieve in a way where there's a release. And that release is not based on a place, it's based on a surrender that we have to release. And I think that is the part that we always have to remember. Like, we're going to go through this, every single one of us. We're not, if you are walking this earth, grief is going to be real to you at some point. And it ain't about the symbolism, it's the real thing. And so being able to, get through that is important.
And Ebony, as Black women, sometimes we are so strong. We're taught to be strong. We're taught to press our way through. And with that, it kind of causes us to put away our feelings and just operate. And so grief is one of those things that will stop the operation. So we put it in a box and we keep stuff in the box until it explodes. We just have this little box. Some people, they talk about all your tears going in the box, but for us, our emotions a lot of times get stuffed in a box. And then the box is like we got our arm on it holding down the top, and the box is spilling over while we're trying to hold it in. And grief is one of those things that causes the box to explode many times because we don't know how to express it. What do we do with those moments, especially as women? Because since slavery, at least we know that our men were taken away, and the woman basically carries the family. And many times, even now, because of that history, we still have it. Our communities are known to have more single parents, single moms than full families. What do we do with that box? And either of you, not just Ebony, Adrian, you too, what do we do with that box that we have filled up that has it's a ticking time bomb, basically? And when grief comes into play, it really just, you're down to the wire. It's about to happen. You don't know how to control it because now this box has become out of control. I don't have any control over it anymore.
So all I could think about as you were talking about that box was a pot of spaghetti sauce with the lid on it, but the fire was turned up so high that it boiled over and it splattered everywhere. And so when we don't take the time to acknowledge where we are and to acknowledge our feelings and to release them as we need to release them, that box, as you said, explodes. And you can't control it when it explodes. And so that's why it's important, whether or not it's exploding with your blood pressure, whether it's a stroke, whether it's asthma attacks, whether it's you kirk out on somebody or whatever it is, right? You can't bring it back in. So the key is to begin to acknowledge how you're feeling and to release it as you need to release it. Don't allow it to just build up because I got this, I got this, I got this, I got this. No, you don't got this, right? Release it as you need to release it. And one of the things I was thinking about as you ladies were talking is that we think about Mother's Day. How many of us begin the weeks leading up to? There begins to be the little anxiety. There's a little, I think maybe the Tuesday or so before, it's like I was sort of out of sync and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I was like, oh, that's right. It's Mother's Day this week. So, you have to be able to acknowledge it when you acknowledge it, right? And release, grieve, cry if you need to. Do what you need to do. Do some self-care. Go out. Do whatever you need to do. But be true to yourself. Give yourself that grace.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that, one of the things that we always do is, and this is something that I really kind of focused on as I'm journeying through this, is this whole idea of strength. Just because you are able to move past this grief and you're still able to navigate things and handle things, that doesn't mean you're strong. You know what I mean? Like sometimes we have this thing where because you're not falling apart visibly, or because you're not, like in the bed all day, or whatever those things look like, you may think that they look like, it's like, oh, you're being strong for everyone, or you're the strong one. And it's like, that's one of the beauties of grieving and especially having a relationship with God, because we don't have to be strong, right? But does that mean that if you're the person navigating the administrative affairs, that you got to do that? You know what I mean? So you're going to be weak and you're going to do the administrative affairs. You're going to handle your business. And, you know, I can remember there were times when I'm handling paperwork and I'm setting up meetings and I'm just bawling, doing it all. Right. And I was releasing, I was grieving. But to say you're the strong one, that's a myth. And I think that the more we recognize that even in those darkest or those most painful times in our lives, this is when this is when our faith is truly activated. You know what I'm saying? You can talk real tough about how good God is until you hit that point where it's like, well, then now we can talk about God. You know what I mean? And every one of us, all of us have been there. We have been at that place where our moms or love, or even if it's not our moms, just other people have transitioned and we've had to pick up the pieces and keep it moving. And that wasn't because of our own strength. That was because of who we believed in. And I think that I would say that more than anything. Don't think that you're so strong that you can do this, because then that sets us up to believe that we can bear something that God gives us the ability to bear. So I would say that. And then I would also say not to, and one of the other things where we put this cape on is when we try to help everybody else grieve. No, let's get a grief counselor up in this camp. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk about Roberta's house, because you can't help everybody grieving if you're grieving too. And so really being able to point people in the right direction and not allow your loved ones to dump their grief on you. And then that way you're walking, carrying other people's stuff, which could be a liability. So I would, really, I really push back to that strength thing, because, my strength is in him. And, it's in the one I love. It's in the one I serve, because I don't think I could have done this without that.
Yeah, definitely. And that it's funny because earlier this week, and this is the interesting thing, when you begin to lean on my belief, who I believe in, he said, who my strength is. And the Bible says, in my weakness is when he's strong. And a lot of times when you start to feel that weakness, you get to the place where you go, am I really supposed to feel weak now? See? But I encourage you today, as I encourage myself, because I'm encouraging myself today, I encourage you to lean into his strength.
That's right.
Because being able to lean, when you think about leaning physically, you lean on someone else because they can hold you up. Imagine if a person can hold you up in their strength, how much greater is the strength of our Heavenly Father, who has all the strength there is to have to hold you up when you lean on him. And so again, as I encourage you, I encourage me, because I have been feeling funky. And Adrian, not until you said it did I understand what the funky feeling was. You go around and you say, I'm frustrated, I'm not really sure what it is that's nagging at me. But sometimes it's just nagging at you. Those things begin to nag at us as we begin to just move forward. Unlike Ebony said, this is her first year. This is my 17th year.
Wow.
It's been 17 years since my mom died, and I always know it so well. Wait a minute. Yes. No, it's my 18th year, because my daughter is 16 and my mom died 2 years before she was born.
Wow.
And so this is my 18th year, and 18 years is like, I think this kid is about to graduate from high school when they turn 18. And so 18 years is big. And then I will tell you, this year I felt a little guilty. I felt a lot guilty because I did graduate on Mother's Day weekend. And usually I make this big, huge post on social media about my mother and my two grandmothers who are all gone. But I always make a huge post talking about the effect that they had on my life. And why I've become who I am because of who they were, and I'm not going to monopolize this conversation, I promise, guys. But a couple of days ago, I realized I was up at 5 a.m. and I could remember and almost hear my grandmother swishing on the floor. I don't know if you guys ever had that experience, but I could almost hear her. She used to get up every morning about 5 a.m. and you would hear her slippers. You wouldn't see her. You would just hear this really fast because she was always up doing something. And so when I opened my eyes and I was like, no, that's no. Those type of things kind of remind you. And if you don't put them in their proper perspective, you'll either be guilty, because guilt will go, oh, I forgot to do something. And just as quick as I said that, I was riding to work and it was like, but you still have time because it's still Mother's Day can be the whole month. Mother's Day can be any day as long as you're honoring your mother. And sometimes that's how we have to kind of turn the situation around. Adrian, were you about to say something?
And who said you had to do it this year? You're still honoring your mother if you don't do it.
Very true.
That doesn't change.
And the thing that I thought about, Adrian, when you were talking, Lydia, is you graduating and getting your degree. That is an extension of your mom and your grandmother and all of those people who poured into you and who loved you and who were proud of you. So it's one of those things where you are the post, you know what I mean? Like you are the look at what they did, you know what I mean? Like it's because of them, I am me, I am here. And so your life itself is the post, is the honor to them. And this is where we talk about those ritual kind of things, where we are so focused on doing it this way or doing it that way, but we don't even realize what we are becoming. Like you are literally their answered prayers. And so as you move forward and as you continue to achieve, you are living out what they saw, what they believed in. And I think that is the way that we have to look at it. And it's all in our perspective. It's all in that part of it. Like we don't have to question whether or not our parents would have been proud of us when we do something, because we've all had good experiences. So we know we could literally smell them or see them or even just see the, smile on their faces, but because they're so much a part of us. And so one of the things that it is, and it's difficult to say this because not everybody has that beautiful experience with their mom or with their their whoever their mom was to them, because some people may not could say this, but it's almost like sometimes we get to a place in our lives where we want to see our loved ones, like our moms, right? And I will never forget that. And I promise you, this is not a sign. I don't have this stuff down packed at all, but I will say this: God showed up. One morning or one day, I was thinking about my mom and I was thinking about just her. And I don't know if I wished out loud that I would see her again. I don't know what that was. I don't know what I was thinking. But all I know is I think we talked about this before. I looked in the mirror and I saw my mother. Right? So think about you saying that you didn't post and you didn't, you know what I mean? But when you look at your accomplishments and what you did, can't you feel your mother, your grandmother, those women who poured into you?
When we were talking earlier, I thought about this, that our moms are always present with us. And why is that? Because we have their DNA.
Yes.
Cut your skin. You got her cells.
Yes.
Their cells, the grandmom cells, you got all of their cells with you. They are always with you. You can't even separate you from her if you wanted to.
Ever.
Yep. Absolutely. Because me and my siblings, especially my sisters, we all, when you compare pictures, look like my mom in some way. People always tell us like, oh yeah, we can definitely see it. But thank you, ladies, because that is comforting. I will say that is definitely comforting because we go through changes. Let's just be honest. All of us go through different changes for different reasons, but we do go through changes when it comes down to our lost loved ones and things like that. But thank you for sharing tools because, guys, we all need the tools to be able to cope. And that's one of the things that if we don't learn to cope, that box definitely will get out of hand and explode. That spaghetti that Adrian was talking about, that sauce will be everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the explosion doesn't happen where you want it to, doesn't happen with who you want it to. It just happens because you can't control the explosion. Once it starts, it's out there. And there's no way to pull it back in. One of my favorite sayings that I say to people is, it was hanging out there and you thought your clothes were straight, but everybody saw your tail.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I didn't know I was hanging all the way out there. And then other people like, you didn't know, but we saw it. But we saw it. And so, these tools that the ladies are sharing with us today, please, I hope that you have your pen and paper out. I usually say it in the beginning, but I hope you have your pen and paper out and you are writing down the tools of different things to cope with the situation. As we have been getting into the Give Yourself Grace, because that is our overall theme this year, I wanted to talk about also how we have to give ourselves grace with our, this is May, and we made goals. Adrian, you teach us about our SMART goals and our vision board, and we're in May. And I'll say, how many of us, because I say us, have goals that we hit a timeline on because our SMART goals were time bound, that we're not quite on schedule with. And instead of giving ourselves grace, we have begun down that path of, oh my God, what am I doing? What do we, and I'm going to point you out this right now, Adrian, because this is definitely where you catch us every year. But what are we to do when we realize that we're not quite on track and in this great, because we're in this grace thing and we're our worst critics most of the time? What is your advice today on that?
Well, part of the issue is not even that we start, beating ourselves up about it. We just abandon them altogether. Oh, I'll set it again next year. I'll try again. Then you got 6 more months. You got 7 more months. How you just stopping? Right? But we don't. We just say, forget it. And we just lose the momentum. And so my recommendation is just to start again. You now have an opportunity to write new goals, do new deadlines, do short-term, long-term. You just start again. Pick up from the last thing that you accomplished. And if that the last thing you accomplished was writing the goals, then pick up there, right?
Absolutely.
Just start where you were. You don't have to, well, I'm gonna just write new ones. No, you don't have to write new ones. If you need to modify them, modify them. Amend where you need to amend. Do some shifts, but just start again.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And you don't need a monumental month. I'm going to start in January. I'm going to start in the beginning of the year. I'm going to start at the 6-month mark. You know how we do. We set these. You know what? I'm just going to start all over again. January 1. It's new now. I didn't do Like she said, the minute you realize you didn't do it, if you want to change, absolutely. Get started again.
Right.
Yeah. Because this is the thing. And I laugh about it. I don't know. Maybe I'm one of those. I'm the different person who, when I look at my list and I see that I'm not quite on schedule, I'm trying to figure out what got me off schedule, which doesn't. Who cares? let's be honest, who cares what got me off schedule? But I'm so busy analyzing what I did that got me off schedule that I'm more off schedule analyzing what got me off schedule.
Yeah.
So I'm at number 3 going, what was I doing when I was supposed to be doing number 3?
Yep.
And number 3 don't even count no more. I'm at number 5 now. Just go to number 5 and do number 5.
That's it.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I've been the whole give yourself grace. I've been doing lives and things on the give yourself grace, because when you get here in your goals, instead of doing, please don't do what I do, guys. Instead of doing the whole re-looking over everything and analyzing everything, give yourself some grace and move on. Sometimes we just need the grace to move on. Right? The grace to move on says, and this is not negative, but so what? But so what? So what? So what?
Right.
I said it was going to be done in June. Okay, so now it's July. Now it's done. Right. I got a plan to finish in August. There are 12 months in the year and 12 more next year. So, I mean, not that you want to procrastinate, but neither do you want to beat yourself to the point where there's no return.
And I think the other thing that we also have to be very, I guess, sensitive about. I remember one time when I was writing a book and I kept saying to myself, I'm going to have this done by this amount. I'm going to have this done on this day. Well, as I was approaching that day, I just didn't have anything, right? The writing wasn't coming to me, right? So I'm waiting, I'm going to write and it wasn't coming. Well, the reason why I didn't have anything and I didn't meet that deadline is because the pages were still being written in my life. And it wasn't until I realized that, you know what, something happened, something major happened. And when it happened in my life, I was like, this is the next chapter. But I didn't know that before. And so once this major thing happened to me, and then I wrote it as the next chapter, I was like, that's why I didn't have it. It wasn't because I was procrastinating. It wasn't because I was doing anything wrong. It just didn't happen yet. And I think that sometimes we have to be sensitive to that as well. I wasn't sensitive to that because I kept getting going to the computer, like, let me get this out. Let me get this out. And I had nothing, guys. I mean, it was nothing coming out. But then when that major thing happened, I was able to say, oh, and so be careful of that too. Be careful that you're not trying to rush a process with your deadline, but you are not sensitive to the pages still being written, because not all books are from the past. Some of it is like right now, and the pages are being formed as we keep moving forward.
Ebony, that was so good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm sitting here like, because that is like literally what we do. We try to force it.
What I did, because I was like, I ain't getting nothing. What's wrong with me? And then when it happened, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is that frustration that you're now putting yourself under is wiping out any momentum for anything else.
Yeah.
You're beating yourself up.
Yeah.
You know, you're decreasing your motivation. You're getting into depression, anxiety, and all that other stuff when you didn't need to.
Yeah.
And so for the other things that you still can do, you're not doing them because you done beat yourself over here and wiped yourself out over here.
Yeah. And anxiety becomes a big one for us because when one thing goes, we become anxious, and it's like a domino effect. And it looks like you say everything is just falling apart, and it's really just one thing. Mm-hmm. But your perspective and your vision changes on everything because I want to get this done right now. And because this is not happening, everything looks like it's not happening, and it's not true. It's just so untrue. So that was a moment of you know, you had that one moment sometimes. That moment be like, oh, okay. It's just a light bulb for you as you're going. It's like, oh, yeah.
Okay. It's real time. It's real time. Sometimes our purpose and the things that we're pushing out, it's real time. And some things have always been there. And there are other things that are, once we leap out, once we step out on faith, we get it day by day.
Yes, ma'am.
And for those of us who are planners, for those of us who like to have all the stuff together, it messes us up.
It really does.
Just walking by faith and not sight.
Yes.
It's not for the planners.
And neither is it for the faint of heart. Because you want your anxiety to go through the roof. It's really testing your faith. That situation tests your faith to a different level, because now you're like God, I'm real, like, really, you gonna leave me out here? And he going, I ain't leave you out here. I just said, trust me. I'm gonna make it all work in my time. And I'm like, you know, but then you're like, but the plan wasn't for it to work by June, and it's now August. So that's all.
And I think said, I leave you out there. I said, be still.
Yeah.
But I am still, but I'm just gonna hurry up and wait.
And I think the other thing too is when we say it's going to be out by this time, or I'm going to do it by this thing, not only are we kind of like idolizing the thing and not the creator of the thing, but we're also setting ourselves up to, like, I told so-and-so it was going to be done and it's not. So now there's this thing where I didn't follow through on something. And for those of us who care about those kinds of things, we'll try to make a deadline just because we said we were going to do it. I don't put my name out there. You know, when we trust God, when we need to just trust God and say, you know what, I said this day, but it's not ready, and be okay with that. It's just not done right now, and I'm okay with it. But we're sometimes so conscious of, I gave this person this date, so I have to have it on that day. And we can miss God doing that. We can miss God with that. And so we have to be careful that we are not so caught up on the word we put out there to others. Not to say that that's not important, but be sensitive when there is a shift. Be sensitive when you have to respect the process and take a step back, and don't feel like you're letting anybody down, right? Because that's the other thing, because there's this idea, and they ain't even the ones that told you to do it. So what is all of this honor to those who you want to keep your word for, when you told them you were going to do it? They didn't know, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, we have all this honor. I'm going to keep my word. I'm going to keep, well, I mean, they don't have anything to do with your destiny. You know what I mean? They do from an external point of view, but really checking that part too.
Yeah. That's where the guilt all comes in.
Yes.
That we keep on ourselves, when it's not even necessary.
Yeah. Guilt is a useless, in my opinion, I'm not the expert, but a useless emotion.
Yeah.
Because it wastes our time on being guilty. Like, you're going through the list of how many things, because when you're that type of person that you're talking about, Ebony, who actually gives your word and try to keep your word, then you take the time as you're going through what you promised. You're guilty of all the things you promised that didn't happen. And that is time that's wasted that you could be working on the situation, or at least praying on the situation so that it can work. You know, something, you could be doing something, but yet you're sitting there working on being guilty. And usually guilt also causes stagnation, because you're using the time to try to figure out why me, or why this, or, and or how did I get this far behind? Because I know that when I was writing the book last year and I had given out a date, and when I looked, I was about 6 weeks from when it was supposed to be published. I don't know if you remember, Adrian, because I talked to you around that time. And I was like, I don't have as many pages as I thought I was going to have. And Adrian was like, it's okay. It takes this long for it to come back. It takes this long and this long. But I was losing it more or less because I hadn't had the amount of pages I wanted to have at that point. And so, like, I will say, Ebony, you just dug all in my business tonight, but it's okay. It's okay. It's going to be all right. But no, that guilt of putting your word out there is major, because you put your word out there, and we are planners. All of us on here right now, I know, because I know you ladies, we are planners. We plan the month, we plan the year. We have a plan for the whole year. I know we do. I know every one of us sitting here has a plan for the whole year. We have planned every month. I mean, every month of the Lioness Den has a topic right now. And most of them have a speaker already that's going to be there for each of the topics that are coming up. And so, you know, with that, it's like, what? I did all this planning and I didn't, you know. So again, my toes, my friend Pastor Madeline said your toes hurt a little bit. I'm sorry. My toes hurt a little bit. You don't have to apologize, Ebony, but my toes hurt a little bit. It's just one of those things of letting go. Yeah. You know, as women, and I'll speak from my perspective, I'm the oldest in my family, and I have taken care of a lot of my siblings. And so to let go means it makes your hand shake. That's all I can say. But it also, it's supposed to be, what do you call it? Refreshing. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of those things. Adrian, you were saying?
I said there's a freedom.
There's a freedom, absolutely. Yeah.
So. Yeah. And that the other problem with guilt is that, as you said, it's a wasteless emotion, but its purpose is to minimize. Its purpose is to remind you of all the negatives. It becomes your negative self-talk.
That's good.
It begins to wipe out all the good. It just keeps reminding you of what you've missed and how you've missed it and all of that. And so that's where the stagnation comes in at, because it's stripping you of your energy, because it's reminding you of all the things that you may have missed. You gotta let it go. I missed it, and what?
Yep.
So, ladies, I'm gonna say this, and Ebony, I want you to continue. Y'all know we already 45 minutes in. I'm just gonna tell y'all that it happens every time, you know. But we're 45 minutes in. We're gonna take about the next 10 minutes to continue this conversation, and then we're gonna get ready to close. But Ebony, please, I saw you were about to say something.
Oh no, I was just kind of echoing what she said. I'm good. Yeah.
Okay.
It's good.
Yeah. Guys, if you are watching us today, you're listening to this and you're dealing with this, I hope you are gleaning from this amazing information that's being shared with us today, because a lot of us do deal with guilt. Guilt is one of our, you know, we pull guilt out like it's a piece of clothing that we wear that we like a lot. Oh, I like that red dress. The red dress is the same as that. Let me get that guilt out and put that on today, because that I know that. But sometimes we have to divorce guilt. And divorcing guilt doesn't necessarily always feel great, but understand the freedom that comes after you realize you no longer have to carry the burden. Because with guilt, there is a burden. So you're carrying the burden and it's heavy, but now you divorce guilt, and now the burden but lifts off your shoulders. Are there any final words that we want to share before we go into our promotional? Because, you know, we talked about our promotional talk that we're going to do this evening today.
So I just wanted to tie in what you just said, because, you know, going back to your theme for the year, when it, you know, as it relates to self-grace, when we think about grace, it relieves us of all debt, right? We are given freedom from debt. And so when we think about how do I relieve myself of that guilt, it's grace. Giving yourself grace, meaning you are relieving yourself of the debt you think you owe, and creating something, starting something again, just as Adrian said. If it's a deadline you miss, create another one. And then I think one of the other things that is important is sometimes we got to go back to the table and ask ourselves the question of, do I really want this? You know what I mean? Like, is it still relevant? I mean, I am a true believer that all things work together for good, right? That's what the word says. And I think that giving ourselves grace and relieving ourselves of a debt, whatever that expectation, whatever that broken promise we think we have, relieving ourselves of that and allowing ourselves to start over is the epitome of grace.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Was you about to say something, Adrian? Because I didn't want to cut you off.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, just like she was saying, I was just thinking about how with the guilt, how we always have the cousin, it's twin, shame comes with it.
Yeah.
Right. And all of that you're trying to carry. But when you let it go, there's the release. There's the release that comes.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
And then when you're talking about the goals, some of the goals that we set, I'm always going back to the purpose. Are these goals that we set out of our purpose, out of what we're called to do?
So good.
Or are these goals we set because it's what somebody else thought we should do? And if it's because somebody else thought this is what we should do and we pick that up, and then we wonder why we can't get it done because it's not in alignment with who we are. So that goes back to looking at the goals and making sure those goals are in alignment with what your purpose and what you're called to do, so that makes it even easier to complete them, because you're not fighting against yourself.
Yeah. And if we look at a lot of our jobs where we set goals, there's always a mid-year revamp. And during the mid-year revamp is when you go and sit with your boss or your supervisor and you go through, is this still the goal I need for this year? And is this a goal that's going to be attainable this year? Because sometimes we take long-term goals and make them short-term goals. And it's not enough time to complete that goal. We need to add time to make sure that we complete it and we complete it well. So, we're almost there to June, guys. Next month is June. It may be time to revamp your goals to finish strong. We want to finish 2025 strong. So maybe this is your revamp time. As we talk about mental health, let's think about, is this the revamp time? Is this the time where I need to maybe not try to do this alone? Because I've been trying to do this alone all, since the situation that brought me here happened. I've been trying to do this by myself. Maybe it's time for me to call somebody and talk to them, be it a friend or professional. Sometimes a friend can't answer the question as a professional. I'm just going to say that out of experience. Sometimes the professional can help you to get to a place that the friend, because they have preconceived notions, can't help you to get to. So this is my plug for call Ebony. Adrian, call somebody who is going to give you advice that can help you and not just give you what you want to hear. Because a lot of times our friends really want us to be happy, and they want us to be so happy that they're going to say what we want to hear, but it's not what we need to hear. Sometimes we need a professional, need a life coach to tell us, hey, let's try to turn right, because that left turn, it ain't been working for you. How many times have that left turn taken you down the wrong road? Well, you might need the Ebony to say, and Ebony is a licensed therapist. So is Adrian, by the way. She doesn't talk about it. She talks about being a nurse most of the time, but I'm gonna leave that alone. Ebony, though, she may need to say, hey, let's take the steps. When I talk to my therapist, she always talks about the steps. We're not going to run. This is not a sprint. We take the steps to get where we're going. Sprinting is just going to get us there, but it's like putting a Band-Aid over a sore that hasn't healed on the inside. It's coming back. So please take the time to call someone. There are avenues that you can go down that will help you.
Yeah.
Nexus Wellness is in Maryland, and Ebony's going to tell us about it before we close.
Yes.
And DT Dream Coach is also in Maryland. So you have Maryland is full of people. And look, most of the professionals, which I found out, Ebony, I didn't know this before, that are in Maryland are not just subject to Maryland. They can practice in other states.
Mm-hmm.
So look, you in North Carolina, like I'm in North Carolina, you can call Ebony more than likely, and she can help you. That's what we found out. That me and LaDawn found that out about a year or two ago. Is that she had privileges in Maryland, and she was here in North Carolina, and then she was in Florida and still had privileges in Maryland, North Carolina, and Florida. So, hey, find somebody to talk to. But as we get ready to end, ladies, please tell us about what you have upcoming. Let's start with Ebony.
So I am a clinical trauma therapist, and I'm located in Owens Mills, Maryland, and it is Nexus Wellness Group. We have a group of amazing clinicians who are here to support you in your journey through healing. I do have a book. One of my most recent books is The Sober Church. And the Sober Church has everything to do with the bridge, the interconnectedness of spiritual principles and psychological realities. So we talk about the bridge in those areas and how God's agenda has always been wholeness. You know, oftentimes we think that mental health is something that is just coming around. But when you scroll through the Word of God and you read the Word of God, everywhere in the Word of God, God is dealing with the mind, the spirit, and the emotions of his people. And so that is the Sober Church. And you can get a copy of that either by joining my website at tripplegliving.com, or you can do Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Books A Million. It's there. You just Google the Sober Church and you'll find where it is.
Wow. Thank you, Ebony. And this is the thing. I'll tell you about it later, but the bridge is how Life Happens began. That's how it began, through the bridge of understanding that we need the connection between spiritual leaders and mental health professionals to help us to become whole. Right. Because a lot of times we can waver. We live the statement of so heavenly good and no earthly good. So you're going straight to heaven and everything on earth is falling down around you. And do we really believe that that was God's intention? So thank you for writing the book. For real. Thank you for writing the book, because it is a blessing to us all. Adrian, what do you have coming up?
So I am a life coach, and I don't have any classes scheduled right now, but I am always taking groups and individuals for life coaching, folks who are trying to reach their goals. I'm also an author, but my favorite books right now are the ones about my grandkids. So I'm a children's author, and I have Really Lily and Why Layla, fun books for your toddlers and your young folks under 5. And you can get them on Amazon or reach out to me. And you can find me on TikTok. I'm a new TikTok now. I'm a new TikTok host, and I do a live room every Monday through Friday at 8:30. And I would love to have you stop in.
Oh, that is great, Adrian. TikTok is one of the things that we're getting up on. I think we slept on it until Donald Trump tried to take it away. Now everybody understands that it's an important entity that we all need to look into. And so, guys, for me, Life Happens is my, every year, everyday environment I'm working on. Life Happens is coming up this October yet again. And we will be back at the Meeting House this year once again. There it is. Save the date, October 25th. registration is currently open. And there is a early bird special. I'm working on, and this is one of those things where I was kicking myself, Adrian and Ebony. I'm working on with the team, the flyer to put it out. But if you go to our link tree, which is at the bottom, you can register today. Registration is open, and registration until July 31st is $10 off. It's our early bird. It will be $69 to register for adults, and for young people from the age of 13 to 18, it's $25, because this year we've added a youth portion to Life Happens. We have some youth counselors who will be there to share with our young people, because understand that life happens for them as much as it happens for us.
Awesome.
It really does. And we need to discuss it with them, because if we're not, someone is. And so they need our guidance to help them as they go through life happening for them. So please join us for Life Happens this year. We have some amazing speakers and amazing honorees that will be there. But please join us. We have some amazing speakers. We have some new people this year. We haven't talked yet, ladies, but we will talk. We have some new people who are coming this year to Life Happens. But our keynote speaker this year is the Apostle Dr. J. Lemuel Spence. He is coming to talk about give yourself grace. If you've never heard him, I promise you are in for a treat. He was with us last year as our opening speaker, and he was with us virtually last year. This year he's in person, guys. He will be in the room with us this year. And last year, Ebony and Adrian were there, I believe, when he started, and people still had questions. Virtually, they were eating it up, like, and he was on the screen. So imagine how much greater it will be with him in person with us this year. So please register. We have a goal of 100 by July 31st. So share with your friends, share with your enemies. They definitely need it if they're your enemy. Share, because these ladies speak and everyone else will be there. But this is going to be an amazing year. This is going to be a groundbreaking year for us at Life Happens. So please make sure you're there. Along with that, we still have the Peace Journal that is out there. And it's on Amazon. You can also contact me via Facebook or Instagram. I will send it directly to you. And it is $16. So I've had great reviews and great sales from this book. But I ask you, if you're looking for tools towards gaining your peace during this journey of life, this is the book for you. This year at Life Happens, I'll be unveiling a new book. I think 2, but I'm not going to push myself, Ebony. But I think we'll be unveiling 2 books this year. But please get your tickets to Life Happens and meet us back here next 3rd Saturday of June, where we'll be having a Father's Day special. And so we want you to join us as we do this. Ladies, thank you so much. I want to tell you that I could have no greater support than these 2 ladies on the screen. They're not just, they don't just come to talk. They're my actual friends for real in real life. Sometimes you have people who are not your friends in real life. They're my friends in real life. And I appreciate you both. I will tell you something that I heard, and it was amazing. And it was from both of you. And it was, if Lydia's doing it, we're in.
Yes.
That is, I don't know about anybody out there, but that's an amazing thing to hear someone say that if you're doing it there. And so thank you guys so much. I appreciate you all. Lioness Den crew, look, don't forget next 3rd Saturday of June, we'll be here, and we'll have some pop-ups throughout, because we really want to dive into give yourself grace. So as we sign off, please remember to give yourself grace and do something special for yourself today. Let's not do what we always do. Let's do something special to show how much we love us. I will see you next time. Bye, everybody.